Let's talk about one of the most wild, challenging, and just plain incredible times in a person's life, the toddler years. We're looking at that window from age 1 to 3, where a tiny human goes from being an infant to a walking, talking person with a very strong opinion. All right, let's jump right in and explore this amazing transformation.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll kick things off with their big drive for independence. Then we'll look at how their bodies are growing like crazy. After that, we'll dive into their developing minds, talk about how to keep them safe, and wrap up with a quick look at what happens during a toddler's healthcare visit.
So, what is the single biggest thing driving a toddler? I mean, what's it all about? Well, it really boils down to this one powerful central idea that shapes everything they do.
This right here, this is the core of being a toddler. It's a concept from the theorist Erik Erikson, who called this stage autonomy versus shame and doubt. That's really just a fancy way of describing the me-do-it phase. It's this constant tug of war between a toddler's massive drive to be their own little person and this underlying fear of getting it wrong. This is exactly why one minute they're fiercely independent and the next they're clinging to you for a hug.
And this quote just nails it. As soon as toddlers get that idea that they're a separate person from you, their whole world just opens up. It's why they have to explore, why they have to touch everything, why they have to test every single boundary. It's not about defiance for the sake of it. It's basically baked into their DNA to figure out their world and what they can do in it.
Of course, you can't have that drive for independence without a body that can keep up. It's an engine that's constantly growing and getting stronger. So let's take a look at the incredible physical changes that are happening. You know that classic toddler look? This table breaks it down. That squat build with the little pot belly and the bow legs, totally normal. It actually gives them a low center of gravity, which is perfect for learning to balance. By the time they hit 3, they're usually around 32 pounds and about 37.5 inches tall. But it's that unique body shape that really defines this stage.
And this is where the action really begins. Right around their first birthday, so many toddlers are taking those wobbly, amazing first steps. But at the exact same time, their fine motor skills are exploding too. They develop that pincer grasp, the ability to pick up tiny little things with their thumb and forefinger. It's a huge leap in coordination for both the big muscles and the small ones.
And it doesn't stop there. It just picks up speed. By 18 months or so, walking is old news. Now, they're running. Or at least, that adorable, slightly out-of-control toddle run. They're climbing on everything and kicking balls. Their entire world just becomes a personal obstacle course. They are literally testing their physical limits every minute of the day.
And by 2.5, wow. The refinement is just incredible. They can now jump with both feet off the ground, which takes a whole new level of strength and coordination. And on the flip side, their fine motor skills have gotten so precise they can turn the pages of a book one by one instead of in a big clumsy clump. It's this amazing combo of power and precision developing all at once.
But what's happening on the outside is only half the story. Inside their heads, there's a total revolution going on.
Okay, so this is a huge cognitive leap described by the theorist Jean Piaget. Basically, toddlers switch from learning about the world by, tasting and touching and dropping everything to a whole new stage where they can think in symbols. All of a sudden, a banana isn't just a banana, it can be a telephone. A block isn't just a block, it can be a car. This is the very beginning of imagination and pretend play.
And all that new brain power just pours into language. I mean, just look at this progression. At 15 months, they're trying to get a word or two out. By age 2, they're putting 2 words together. Fast forward to 2.5, and they might have 50 words. And by 3, they're making little sentences with 3 or 4 words. It's just this unbelievable explosive growth in their ability to communicate.
So how does all this affect how they play with other kids? Well, toddlers are famous for something called parallel play. You've probably seen this at a playground, right? They'll play next to other kids, but they aren't really playing with them. They might be in the same sandbox, using the same shovels, but they are totally in their own little worlds. This isn't them being antisocial, it's a super important step they have to take before they can get to that more cooperative play you see in preschoolers.
Okay, so with all this moving and shaking and new brain power, creating a safe and healthy space for them to do their thing becomes job number 1.
This is really where you lay the groundwork for healthy habits that can last a lifetime. Now, toddlers can be famously picky eaters, right? So the goal is just to offer a variety of simple, healthy foods without turning it into a battle. And routines are everything, for sleep, for screen time, and for dental health. Even just wiping their new teeth with a washcloth gets them started on a great habit. Look, toddlers are wired to explore everything with their hands and their mouths, and they have absolutely zero sense of real danger. None. So injury prevention is just a massive priority. This list here covers all the big risks, from falls and burns to poisoning. Childproofing isn't about stopping their curiosity. It's about creating a safe zone where they can follow that powerful need to explore without getting hurt.
All right, let's switch gears and put on our clinical hats for a minute. What are the key things to know when a toddler has a healthcare visit?
First up, vitals. A toddler's heart beats fast, like really fast, somewhere between 80 and 140 beats per minute. It's way faster than an adult's. A nurse will usually listen with a stethoscope right on their chest for a full minute to get it right, because it can speed up and slow down so quickly.
And it's the same story with their breathing. It's faster too, usually between 25 and 30 breaths a minute. And since they tend to be belly breathers, a provider will often just watch their little abdomen rise and fall for a full 60 seconds to get an accurate count.
And here's a look at their expected blood pressure ranges. As you can see, there are some slight but real differences between boys and girls. But you know what the most important thing is here? Using the right size cuff. If it's too big or too small, the reading is just going to be wrong. Simple as that.
So how in the world do you successfully examine a toddler who's probably terrified of strangers in a weird room? It's all about making them feel safe. You bring in a parent, you praise the kid for anything they do, and you just watch their cues. A great trick is to do the easy stuff first, like listening to their chest through their shirt, and save the scary stuff like looking in their ears for the very end.
And if they need medicine? Well, giving it by mouth is always the first choice, using things like liquids or chewables. But for shots, like vaccines, you need an intramuscular injection. For a toddler, the go-to spot is the vastus lateralis. That's that big, meaty muscle on the outside of their thigh. It's a really well-developed muscle and is safely away from any major nerves or blood vessels. And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? The whole toddler experience really just boils down to this one beautiful, complicated question. They're caught in this constant negotiation between a fierce, burning need to do it themselves and a deep, fundamental need for your safety and your connection. So for all of us, parents, caregivers, healthcare providers, the real challenge is figuring out how to create a world where they can safely shout, "I can do it," while always knowing that "I need you" will be answered. How do we find that balance?